Okay, my name's Stuart Brown. I'm a probation and history teacher at Fraserburgh Academy. I'm also Modern Studies, so provisionally qualified.
I'm history.
It's the only way to be.
We're the coolest kids.
Absolutely, absolutely. Quality speaks the way forward. I'm going to talk about my sort of practical experiences of ICT in the classroom, where most of the time, unfortunately for me, things have not gone to plan, and how I adapted to that. As somebody who's really into using ICT, you can see some of the reasons there. I've had two of the main ones: budget constraints and disaffected pupils. I might touch on some of the things Martin said as well about you using ICT to really grab the attention of disaffected pupils. It is really, I think, the way forward. Let's see here. Okay, so why do I think ICT is simple as that? It's my strength. These are some of the. I'll get to the photos. It's one of my strengths. I grew up using ICT, and I always believe it's best to teach to your strengths. And if you're not ICT minded, then that's fine. You will have other strengths in other areas that you can teach. For me personally, ICT is my strength, and I believe that the kids themselves, on the whole, and I will take challenge of that, but on the whole, the kids are definitely very ICT literate. They've now got to a point where they've went through primary school using computers and are now using computers in their daily lives. I know most of my pupils, and I do teach in a school where there is an interesting social demographic, if you want to put it that way. They mostly still have a Facebook and still communicate to each other, and I'll still be walking around and hearing them going, instead of saying they're going to go round to each other's house on a lovely day, they'll go on MSN and have a talk instead, which is interesting, but also maybe quite sad in a way as well. They'll even Skype each other as opposed to, but I think we were having a talk about drinking on Skype the other day moving on, so we didn't drink alone, but that's not for now.
That's for another conversation.
Yeah, it's another conversation perhaps later, but Skype has many uses. Okay, so very passionate about ICT. I initially was going to say problems I face, but I try my very best, despite being a natural born cynic, to be offensively positive at all times. So I decided that a much more positive one was realities. Sort of getting down to CFE speak there. I had a sort of interesting contrast in my placement. I was at a school where there were smart boards in every classroom, where it was wonderful, I was making real progress, to a department where, unfortunately, bigger school, less money going about, one smart board between 3 classrooms, and the realities hit me quite hard. It would be wonderful if I could, I know there's money available, but unfortunately some proactive maths teachers got in the way, and I didn't get my hands on iPods and iPads and everything else. Not saying anything, or drama teachers possibly stealing them and then hiding them on the other side of the school.
That's probably more like it.
Because I'm too lazy to go down to that side of the school at the end of the day. Perfectly honest. Okay.
Realities, that's exactly.
My dream classroom, the one classroom in my department that has a smart board and a whiteboard. That to me is my perfect classroom. I couldn't go back to teaching in a classroom that's just got a smart board, because writing on it is, I don't know if you wrote on a smart board, it is a pain. Especially if you've got sausage fingers like me, and it's just not right. So I often use the smart board as a visual prompt, and only really as a visual prompt, or possibly activities on it if I'm ever lucky enough to sort of sneak my way into the classroom with 30 kids behind me. It doesn't always happen. And then building on points and all the rest of it with the whiteboard, a bit of the old chalk and pot procedure. This is my classroom. As you can see, it's a projector. My Map Central, my class at the moment. It's not perfect, but I've managed to make do with it, and it's probably more the norm than smart board classrooms I would expect across the sector. I think we'd have more projectors and whiteboards than smart boards everywhere. I don't know. Teaching, how many people have smart boards in here? Oh, I'm so jealous.
It's still in the box.
It's still in the box, okay, that's fine. Right.
It's useful in the box.
No.
Oh, I would just love one. Supposedly they're coming, but I'll be gone by the time they're there, so I have to.
No, but one of the boxes.
Yeah.
I'd be more inclined just to play with the box. I'd get distracted. So that's me. This was taken by a colleague of mine. This is not a posed photo, believe it or not. This was me trying to get a laptop that worked on Monday to do some stuff in London Studies. I had some stuff on my lovely MacBook Pro that always works, but the school laptops had been updated, and as I said, from everyone, just weren't working, and were making me do a big sad. I was not very happy on Monday. So that's some of the problems I face. A lot of the time I'm coming up with technology that when it works is wonderful, but despite my best planning, it sometimes fails on me. In fact, it most of the time fails on me. I've also got the wider issues of the demographics where, for probably very justifiable reasons, there's a worry about using technology, a worry about technology going missing, about resources going missing, things like that. There are certain, I personally love these two groups of pupils the best because you can get the most out of them. Disillusion perhaps, or disaffection, or whatever baggage they're bringing to the class, because let's face it, all kids are bringing baggage to the classroom, some more than others. These are the sort of wider issues that can maybe get in the way of if you don't attack it positively, I've found. These are only my experiences, this is not some prescribed way of doing it. I wish I had it. So, this is not a copyright issue, it's Wikimedia Commons. Does anyone use Wikimedia Commons? It's great. So I managed to get Beach Boys. So getting around the realities and a really cheesy joke about I get around. Would you ignore me? It's adapting yourself to the reality. If the resources aren't working, plan B, plan B, plan B. That's what I've learned this year, and I would say that to anyone coming into probation year after the freedom of being a student. Would I say you'd be great freedom? I mean, I would love to go into class and say teach what you want, and I pretty much get that. But it's more, this is my outcome. You've got to get there. I'll give a couple of examples of how I've done that. Wordle. I wanted to use Wordle, so I got all the laptops out. Twice, 3 times I tried this, and the laptops were having none of it because Flash Player hadn't been installed. So it was a nightmare scenario. Trying to get hold of a very busy technician who's got lots of stuff to do across the school. I'm pretty low down in his priorities. How am I going to do that? And it was as simple as applying, and I think this could be so many of the wonderful ICT things you'll see here tonight, or find yourself on the web or get from colleagues. It's applying the principles. The principles are always adaptable in ICT. If you're here tonight, you're ICT minded in my view. That's why you're here. But I would bear in mind that these adaptables are principles. So for Wordle, for example, I now create a lot of word clouds and jotters. I've explained what a word cloud is, and if they're, instead of writing bullet point notes which bore the kids to death, it's word clouds. They think this is wonderful because they're being wonderfully creative. They've got a double page to write whatever they want, and they just go mad. And some of the things they come out with are excellent if you have a little bit of trust in them. Another reality, well, I spend a lot of time wasted on the internet, really, to be honest. And I get into internet fads. Has anyone seen, this is the newest one, has anyone seen Velociraptor before? It's not Velociraptor, he's Velociraptor. Well, the kids in my 6th year are very into Velociraptor at the moment, and they're coming around, and you can get a generator where, it's really stupid and random with their kids, and they just write things. A lot of them go and get quotes from some obscure philosopher and try and throw my colleagues who are into philosophy off their mark. I've decided that instead of setting my 3rd and 4th year's essays from now on, I'm just going to get Velociraptor to do it. Because to be honest, they're much more likely to listen to him than me a lot of the time. So this is, are the underlying causes of war consistently based on economics? What historian said that? Oh, A.G.P. Taylor, come on. The only historian that matters. Discredited, but still relevant. And Velociraptor says so, not me. And it's stupid things like that. I think the real beauty of ICT is using it at its most simplistic, and stupid things like this that you can get on the internet and just mess about with. It's just grabbing their attention, and to relate that all back to kids who are perhaps disillusioned. If you can capture their attention and get them on side, you're more likely to really enthuse them with their learning. It's almost learning by stealth. I sometimes think I'm sort of trying to get them to learn without them knowing them learning. So let's go on the laptops, let's go down the ICT suite, get your phones out on your smartphones, your iPods, and write your homework in there. All these things are things that just sound cooler than get your homework diary out, or let's do work in the jotters, or things like that. It's learning by stealth. I'm always open to discussions. I probably had a lot more to say, but I didn't write down what I was going to say. Luckily I've got this. This is really what I'm all about as a teacher. It's a combination of web research, blogs, set up a department blog, using emails instead of paper trails, getting into a bit of an eco-warrior phase, and we can't afford to print anything off anymore, so it's just email it to me and I'll do it that way. I've done podcasts using my MacBook, which have been very successful because, again, it's a novelty factor. Oh, we can put this on our iPod and listen to it for revision. You know, hopefully some submersive learning will happen there, maybe not. The results will be in August, I don't know. And web resources, and it's just all about creating a positive learning experience. You can see it there, teach to your strengths, knowing your pupils, building on established methods, combining ICT with some old school methods, if you will, planning effectively and adapting to realities. That's how I've got through my probation year. There's my contact details that are possibly easiest to get. That's my email address there, still using the Aberdeen Uni one. You'll be happy to see, and that's my Twitter there. So if anyone wants to contact me, I'm usually always within touch and distance of my emails or my Twitter, especially my Twitter when I get a smartphone again, so I'll be on it all the time. Anything I can do, just give me a shout. Okay, thanks very much. Any questions?
I've got a question.
Okay.
What kind of support are you getting for smartphones in school? You know, because a lot of Aberdeenshire schools are pretty well against
The
using
phone
mobile.
policy,
Yeah.
they're not usually allowed them out in class. I certainly don't like them texting when I'm teaching. I just don't tell anyone that I say just use your phones. I just do it. You know, if I don't get caught, if I got caught, I'd defend it. It just isn't an issue.
You've just
And I
told the
really
world
don't-
that.
You've
just
told
to be
Because
honest.
unless like to
Yeah.
lose their phone,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
the phone is their
It's
life.
their pride and joy.
So, yeah.
So
by
Homer
week 4.
Diary,
Homer Diary's
gone
the
within the
one.
first week.
I haven't seen a Homer Diary in so long. I don't even know what colour they are now. So
To be
I know
honest,
all,
you've
I
just
know all the phones my
to
kids
be
have.
honest, you've just described the practice of several teachers.
Yeah.
Who we all know that the Aberdeenshire policy is we can't use or we're not meant to use them. But at the end of the day, you said about playing to your strengths.
Yeah.
You play to what they have, and you play to what they like, and you have them use what they like. And
As far as I'm concerned, the national policy is we are still, up until review, autonomous professionals, so they should let us be that. And
Exactly.
that's what I would throw back at them all the time. You want us to be autonomous professionals, let us teach autonomously until they review it.
no, good point.
Yeah. There you go. Loaded comment. It was always going to be one job. Right, anyone else?
Can I just ask about Prezi?
Of course you can.
Because I've never used it before, but I've seen a few of the presentations. Is it quite straightforward? Is it easier or harder than Microsoft presentation?
Initially, PowerPoint, because we're so used to
Yeah.
using PowerPoint, I found it difficult. Once you get used to it, it's just easy. Are you a visual learner, do you think? You like shapes and moving stuff around?
Well,
or-
I'm a maths teacher, so I'm obviously
The
quite
one-
logical. So
it's very maths based.
Aye, the one thing I would say about it though is it is quite difficult to try and get it into a topic. Like I've tried using it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Trying to get it. I mean, it's easy enough to do presentations using
Yeah.
PowerPoint where you can go right. Here's an example questions.
Yeah.
So in terms of I found it extremely difficult to not to use. I mean, but
Yeah.
in terms of trying to tie it in, it's quite. But
But even just introducing the topic, like write
Yeah.
about a famous mathematician,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
is the presentation I was thinking would be slightly
that
more
would be
interesting.
yeah. Instead of using PowerPoint
Yeah.
for that, you could you
Yeah.
could show them to do
Yeah.
Prezi. That would it would tie it in.
That's exactly it. I only use it for a presentation page because I get bored.
Yeah, well, I'm
PowerPoint.
used to using this smart notebook because I like to write over everything.
Yeah.
So,
That's the thing, and as well with Prezi, you can adapt as you go on.
Yeah.
If I can get up there, go to here, I can write stuff as I go on. So if I get a sort of random observation, as I'm always likely to do, I can write there, you know, and then it's in the presentation. It's there, they can see it. My biggest beef with Prezi is as a hopelessly bad speller, which I probably again shouldn't admit, but no spell check. So my only advice would be type it up in Word first, and then copy and paste it. Because I take it from someone who's had an English teacher as a mentor, you don't want to get caught in your observation with sloppy spelling.
I was played dyslexic.
Sometimes. If I'm feeling a bit on PC. Thanks very much.
cool. Thank you.
Thank you.